What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Six for Sixers podcast. I'm your host, Creek, and we are live today. Haven't gone live in a while, but I figured it'd be a good day to go live before the game. I mean, after the game, just kind of chop it up. I got mixed emotions, so I'm gonna go into it. First of all, play the song. Sixers pulled out their eighth victory in a row. And I think that's something that should be applauded. Eight straight victories and a pretty good game. Joel Embiid sat out for precautionary measures, according to the team. Nothing to be alarmed about. He just, I guess they felt they could beat the Nets without him, and they were right. And I thought they could beat the Nets without him too. The Nets are not very good, and they don't really have anything to play for at this juncture in the season. So probably was a healthy gamble. I was nervous because I've been a Sixer fan for a long time and I knew that this was a game that we needed to win. But we did not control our own destiny. We needed to win and we needed other teams to lose. So ideally, we would have been better off with a loss by both the Magic and the Pacers. The Pacers played the Hawks. I won't even, if you've seen the result of that game, although I had posted earlier, I did not even think that the Hawks stood a chance against the Pacers coming into the game. Pacers knowing how important the game was, and the Hawks just basically being the Hawks. The Hawks lost to the Pacers 115 to 157. So they lost by 42 points. We know that was not going to give us any help. But the last thing was Milwaukee versus the Magic. And I did feel that that game would be very close because I felt that Milwaukee had something to play for a little bit, sort of. And I'll tell you why I say sort of. And then the Magic also had something to play for because if the Magic lose, then they go into the play-in tournament, which they would have had to play Wednesday to, gain their seeding into the playoffs. So I felt that both those teams had something to play for. The final result of that game was the Magic 113 and the Bucks 88. That game, I followed that game. I even watched a good portion of that game while I watched the Sixer game, and it was not even close. Pretty much the whole time going into the fourth quarter, the Bucks were down 9 points, and then the Magic went on like an 11-0 run, and that kind of put the game out of reach. They did not have Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is a big component, kind of like our Joel Embiid, but they still have Damian Lillard. They have some good supporting cast members like Middleton, Bobby Portis, and Lopez brother. So I still felt like they could have won that game, but the Magic had more to play for because if the Magic lost that game, they would be bounced from the playoffs and had to play in a play-in tournament. And obviously they did not want that. So it's all about seeding. As the season ends for us, it ends with us being in the right outside of the playoff contention, seventh place, which means we were going to have to play for the play-in tournament. Miami Heat Wednesday night at Wells Fargo Center. Let's just talk about the game first. If you are on the live, feel free to comment any thoughts that you have regarding the game today or playoff implications because there's a lot going on. I might not even stick with the six format, although I can come up with 6 points. 6 points. I'm gonna give it to the bench first. The bench was spectacular today. I wish we could get the bench to play like that every game. Unfortunately, they do not. But the bench play was huge today. And I think with Embiid being out, the bench they got a lot more minutes than they normally would get. Paul Reed, 29 minutes, which is really high for him. But Paul Reed had 13 points, 6 of 12 shooting. Very good night by Reed, along with 12 rebounds. Great game coming off the bench, backing up Mo Bamba and Paul Reed. And I guess I'll make that part of my point number one. Paul Reed has played very well off the bench. And it's interesting how different guys respond to different situations because earlier in the season, it was like Nick Nurse was trying to figure it out whether he's going to go with Reed or whether he was going to go with Bamba to start. Then he started going to Bamba, trending more toward him. And I don't know, I guess kind of like a toss up. Bamba started to figure it out as a starter, and Reed started to figure it out as a player off the bench. They both, to me, play better in those roles. I don't like Reed as the starter. He plays better when the game is already in progress and he just fills in where he's needed. And today was a testament of that 13 and 12 and even 3 assists. So great game by Reed coming off the bench. Campaign coming off the bench with 10 points. Not a great shooting performance from 3 point, 2 for 7. But Cam, I like what Cam brings to the team. I do not miss Pat Bev anymore. I think Cam brings a really strong offensive spark. He's not afraid to shoot the ball. And when he's hot, he's hot. Really brings a good element to the team. Today he added 10 points. And then Kate Scott calls him Buddy Love. And Buddy has been up and down in his production. Buddy can be really good sometimes. Buddy can be really flat sometimes. Today he was, to me, really good. 4 for 10 for three, 40%, and 19 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds. That's a great game by Buddy Hield. And I think that if Buddy does that every day, I think he might be a good candidate to get re-signed for next season. And I think with Embiid there, I think that he could do that. So shout out to the bench mob, 13, 10, and 19. They really held it down because on starters with Embiid out, starters were really, really sparse. So my buddy Dave says, who is Pat Bev? Pat Bev is he runs his mouth, and that's kind of how he makes his money. He stays in the league. He stays relevant by talking. I wish life was that easy that you could just keep talking and people keep giving you contracts. But let me stop disparaging Pat Bev because Pat Bev was good when he was for us, and well, I actually was upset when he got traded. But I take campaign and the spark that he gives us offensively over that talking and that attitude to Pat Bev, which I think we need, but we got a lot bringing in Lowry because Lowry has a championship pedigree that Pat Bev just doesn't have. So, all right, let's go to the game. Point number two. First point was the bench mob. Point number two is Swiss Army knife Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris, he's also had an up and down season, and people have been calling for Tobias to either get out of town altogether or for his contract numbers to be greatly reduced. He got off on a good contract, but he's coming to the end of it. And I've heard I've heard anywhere from 5 million a year to 25 million a year for Tobias Harris next year. I'm uncertain on whether we should bring back Tobias because he plays with uncertainty. Some games, like today, he was very, very aggressive, taking the ball to the basket, shooting 3 pointers without hesitation. 3 for 6 from three, 50%, 8 for 15 overall, 8 rebounds. That's a great game. And in the first half, he had like 15 points in the first half. He was really the difference maker, in my opinion, in the first half. He was the go-to guy in the first half. And I think that if he can play like that, that's the story with everybody on his team. If he can do that night in and night out, then yeah, you keep a guy like that around and even pay him 20 to 25 million a year. But then is he going to do that every game? And then typically against the Nets, Tobias has always had really good games because I don't know. I think the Nets are smaller. He could take the ball to the rack. They don't have a true big. They have lanky bigs that can be. You could kind of get in there and they could block shots, but they're not gonna give you a whole lot of muscle. So point number two, Tobias Harris, Swiss Army knife. Great game. Great game. And I still believe in you, bro. You go back and look at all my 6 for 6ers. I got a lot that just dedicated to Tobias Harris. And I've had my moments of frustration, but never put him in the trash. I think that he's still really good player. Number three, Tyrese Maxey. Again, he's coming into his own, up for contract negotiation at the end of the season. I think that he played a great game today. Let's just stick with that. Very aggressive, being a leader. He's starting to emerge as the leader on the team. And good game, 10 for 20, 3 for 7 from three, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And I like it. 26 total points. Very, very aggressive, taking the ball to the basket, showing off his razzle dazzle. They said Tyrese doesn't have a bag, as they is that's a young person slang for a lot of moves, but he does. He can handle the ball really well, goes in and out. He can go right to left, which was one of the criticisms that he didn't go left very often. He's changed a lot of that this season. Step backs, spin moves, a lot of awkward layups that he's very much under control. And he displayed all of that today. So great game by the starters with Harris and Maxey to really help us solidify this victory, which we desperately needed. Let's go into point number four. Point number four is defense. I think that the team, and this is overall in the last 8 games, the defense has been much better. Tobias Harris and all of his sometimes offensive woes gets left off as a defensive threat and a defensive stopper. And we saw in the last game against Banchero, he took on the task. Tobias has taken on, in a lot of cases, the best player on the team, or the player that can get hot really fast, the player who has a bigger body, and he has sacrificed himself to do that. But I think overall, team defense is very scrappy, very formidable, and that was not. They were a good defensive team, and with Embiid, but I think that when Embiid left, it kind of took a toll on us defensively. And the fourth point is that they've just been playing pretty excellent defense, which is why I believe we're winning all of these games. I don't believe it's so much offensive production, and rightfully so. We got Embiid back, that helps, but I still don't believe that that's the only thing. I think that we're playing really good defense, getting into the passing lanes, getting out, getting some steals, block shots, getting out on fast break. Kelly Oubre has a lot to do with that as well. He didn't play well offensively today, but he has been really good defensively. And Kyle Lowry is my fifth point. Lowry had 0 points today, but he had 8 assists. So it's not always about points. Shout out to my man Greg. I think Greg was at the game today. But my man Lowry does not always come up with points, but it's those assists. How he is as a facilitator and how he is with his leadership on the floor, that makes all the difference in the game for us. So shout out to Kyle Lowry, point number 5. Great game, under control. And then he didn't have points because he didn't shoot a lot. He only shot 2 times. And that's not his role on the team. His role, Maxi's role is to shoot. Embiid's role is to shoot. Oubre, Harris, Lowry's role is to distribute, get them the ball and watch them work. So he does that very well. And he just knows how to play basketball. It's not all those guys. When you watch the NBA, you just take for granted they're all wildly, some guys wildly athletic, but Lowry is not wildly athletic, but just knows how to move on the floor, how to move without the ball, how to put pressure on the defense, when to dish, how to get guys involved. So point number 5 is a crazy one because 0 points, but 8 assists and only one foul. So he was very efficient today. He did what the team needed, which is what champions do. So shout out to Kyle Lowry. Lowry's going to be a big piece heading into the play-in tournament because he knows what it takes to win a championship. And hopefully he can bring his rings into the locker room, his ring into the locker room to inspire our guys. And then point number 6 is going to go to the whole team. 8 straight victories. You can't be mad at that. That's the bright side. The bright side is that when Embiid came back, it was a tough stretch with Embiid out, but when Embiid came back, the Sixers really did all that they could do to get into the playoffs. We can't really control other teams' wins and losses. We can only control ours, and they controlled it. They won the last 8 games straight, and it's not much we could ask for as fans than for them to win out the last 8. Unfortunately, um, unfortunately, that didn't work out for in terms of the entire Eastern Conference, but it is what it is. That's the only disappointing thing today. And we look in here, oh man, these are the final standings, and I will post these to the Facebook page. Boston, of course, number 1. New York, because of the Milwaukee loss, New York slips into that second spot. Let me see. I think New York actually. Yeah. New York had a won today. So New York slipped into that second spot, man. And people thought New York was trying to lose. So Milwaukee could be in that second spot. No, no, no. The Knicks are rolling. The Knicks do not believe in breeding a losing culture. So, man, this was a crazy day in the Eastern Conference. Looking for that Knicks game here. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, it's not over yet. Take that back. The Bulls and the Knicks 119 to 120 in overtime. 2.1 seconds to go. I mean, we'll just figure that out as we are here on the live. We'll see who's going to win that one. So, wow. But as the standings have it, the Knicks are in second place. Now, I guess if they lose this game, that might potentially change. So let's look at the standings as they are now, and we will figure out this game. So right now, according to ESPN, oh, the Knicks won? Okay, cool. The Knicks just won. Appreciate that information. So let me see if that changed anything. And okay, so good. So here's the final standings. Boston number 1, Knicks number 2. Man, that's a shakeup. Man, that's a shakeup. So Milwaukee drops to 3, Cleveland's steady at 4, Orlando 5, the Pacers 6, Philly 7, Miami 8, the Bulls 9, and the Hawks 10. Now you guys can help me out. I don't profess to be, I can analyze the game, but all of this, there's 2 things that I lack as an analyst. Contracts. I don't know all that stuff like bird rights and this player, we can sign him for this much. I depend on a lot just doing research for that. And the second thing is when they implemented this play in tournament, I'm like, okay, who's playing for what? Now, please comment Get me straight so I don't make any mistakes. But I know the top six are already solidified. But then when you go to 7, 8, 9, and 10, I believe that they playing just for seeding, or are they playing, are they playing to actually get one of the last two spots? I don't know because it would be 8. So I guess if Philly is in the 7th spot, if they defeat Miami, I guess they stay in the 7th spot. But then I guess if Miami loses, maybe they play the winner of Chicago and Atlanta. Is that how it goes? And then the winner of that game gets the 8th spot. So, all right, Jesse. Jesse says, let's go smoke Jimmy. Then the boys in New York, followed by Doc, and on to those jerks in Boston. So if we beat Jimmy, then we play New York. But what happens if we lose? Are we out of it? We play Miami next. Yeah, we play Miami next. What if we win? We play New York next for the first round. But then if we lose, we have to play the winner of Chicago and Atlanta for the 8th spot. And then if we lose, we play the winner of and then we got to win that game. Okay, got it. So then we had to win that game, and then if we win that game, we got to play Boston in the first round. Oh man, yo, so we gotta, we gotta. I just had a panic attack because we gotta win. We gotta win on Wednesday so we can get the 7th spot so we can play New York. Much rather play New York at this point. Although I don't really try to dodge teams because we gotta play anybody. We're gonna have to play whoever. So if we had to play Boston, we had to play Boston. But with Joel, look, he's been scoring. However, he does look a little bit slower. His movements are a little gimpy. I'd rather take New York right now. I think we can beat New York. New York is playing without Julius Randle, although they've still been good without Randle. But I think we can beat them, especially with having Embiid back. I think that I think New York is terrified right now. And that's why people thought New York was trying to lose on purpose today. Because who wants to face Philadelphia in the first round? And maybe Milwaukee tanked today because they said that we're gonna take our chances with I guess Indiana. Much rather play Indiana than to play Philly in the first round. Nobody wants Philly in the first round. So we want to win against Miami, Jesse says, because it puts us on the New York, Milwaukee side. I agree with that. So go Sixers on Wednesday. We'll see. Joel, man, just stay in the bed. Just stay in the bed. What do they say? Elevate it, put it like 5 or 6 pillows under that leg, let it stay up high. Get your masseuse to come in there and just do whatever the magic is, put some ice on it, whatever you got to do, because we really gonna need Joel in this series against the Knicks. Because without Joel, I mean, the Knicks have really beaten us with Joel this season, but without Joel, it's not gonna look good. So we shall see. We shall see. That is all I got today. What a crazy season and a crazy end to the season. I really thought we were going to grab the 6th spot, but that's all right. I mean, because even if we would have grabbed that 6th spot, looks like we would have played Milwaukee in the first round. And I think Milwaukee is down Giannis, but I think he's coming back. Randall is done for the season. I don't see much of a difference between Milwaukee and New York. New York has kind of owned us during the regular season, but playoffs a whole different monster. The game just shrinks. It's more of a half court game, which I think favors the Sixers. Anyway, if any more comments, put it in the comment box. Anybody notice anything? I'll just say this as I'm closing out, as I'm reading the comments. I'm proud of the team. I think You got to give the Sixers props this season for the regular season. You have to give Nick Nurse and the coaching staff a lot of credit because they really went with the ebbs and flows of injuries and so much, man, that we dealt with this season. Guys being out every game, basically. And from Melton, who was a big part of our team defensively, to Joel Embiid, Rocco being out the majority of his time with us. And then spot injuries here and there. Tobias Harris, Maxi, Batum has been in and out. Everybody has been pretty much inconsistent. Not everybody, but most of the guys have been inconsistent with their play, most of our important guys. And Nick Nurse was able to coach through it all. And that takes a lot of intelligence, basketball intelligence to figure out a lineup, figure out which guy's going to work. And you've seen it. Shout out to Nick Nurse also for giving the young guys a chance. Ricky Council, you see what that's developed into a full contract, 4 years, I think $7 million, which is really cheap. I think he's worth a little bit more than that. But hey, I'll take it. And he's going to be a great player. And then Ricky Council, Jeff Doughton, all of those guys that we may not have seen last year, Nurse gave them an opportunity and it really turned into something great for us. So shout out to the coaching staff. Shout out to the Sixers for being resilient. Tyrese Maxey for holding down the fort with Embiid out, becoming an all-star this season. Joel Embiid for scoring 70 points in a game, really solidifying himself as the MVP of the season, even with the injury. I don't care about all that stuff. He's obviously to me the most important player in the league for any team. And shout out just to the entire team. Kelly Oubre, who's going to play himself into a really good contract next season, wherever he is. Everybody, Mo Bamba, a good comeback season for him. Paul Reed, who signed that big contract in the offseason, and I thought it was a good year for him. So shout out to the team. Shout out to the Six for Sixers Facebook page. This will also be posted on our YouTube page. Please like, share, subscribe on the YouTube page. I'm trying to get both going, but I'm going live here until we get that really, really bustling, trying to work on it. So anyway, I'm out of here. Everybody enjoy your Sunday, rest of the Sunday. Go Sixers. Play the song. I know y'all's heart is just rumbling, so just take off. Just calm down. It's already done. It is what it is. We play Miami Wednesday, and then we go from there. And go Sixers. And whoever's going to be in the house, Wells Fargo, please post it on the Six for Sixers Facebook page so that we can join in on feeling like we're there, even though we're wherever we are. All right, everybody. Peace. Go Sixers.